Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Centimetre Perfect AFL podcast. We have made it through round 7 of the 2026 AFL season. It was a week where Port Adelaide shocked the Cats, the Dockers defeated the Blues, the Swans gave the Bulldogs a good old-fashioned walloping, while West Coast will be left to wonder where 2025's version of St Kilda went with a pantsing at Marvel Stadium. I am Jesse Dart, joined as always by Liam. And
Hello.
I think, Liam, at this juncture, we can start to reasonably safely say where teams lie. And I think with an average winning margin of about 48 points this weekend, I think competitive balance crisis wouldn't be too far.
Yeah, well, I must say, Jesse, I was enjoying the Anzac Day long weekend, which it was for us here in WA, down south, and basically had a weekend of just watching sport. It was fantastic. NBA, AFL, all got a mention. But I was watching with a buddy who's kind of he's an in and out AFL fan. And he noticed that these games were not close. At bar one, most of these games were blowouts, huge blowouts. One surprising one, the rest probably not so much. So I agree with you there, Jesse. At @CMPerfect_AFL is where you can find us on Instagram, Apple. Glitch. This is what happens after you go down south for a little bit. You come back and you start to do a podcast, you glitch out. Apple, Amazon, and Spotify for our main podcast, where you can listen to that gem, and then also on YouTube for our main video. Jesse, go on, berate me.
No, I'm actually not going to berate you because I feel like you're already making the audience suffer enough. For those who are new here, it's okay. Yeah. I talk for 90% of this.
That's true.
He's an accessory.
Yeah,
and that's great.
I just try and guide the ship and make sure Jesse doesn't go for 45 minutes on a topic that probably only needs 5.
Sea shanty's optional, but we're going to talk about a very serious topic today, and it's a topic very close to my heart. Our regulars will probably know this. Now, we gave Cundon a shout-out in the podcast last week. I think we're going to keep it on that theme and go with Tamman today, because I honestly feel like the committee of the Tamman Football Club would run a competition better than the AFL is at the moment. And I think it's fair to say that right now, the AFL is in a bit of a governance crisis. And this might be boring for the more casual fan of the sport, the show, whatever you want to call it. But I feel like this is a really important topic for AFL fans and people who, they're members of the footy club. They watch a game a week, if not more. And that's a very broad spectrum. We're talking people who tune into Friday Night Footy because it's on versus people who watch all 9 games and think about their fantasy team at all times like me, because we're sickos and we have nothing else in our lives to be happy about. That's a joke, I promise. I am okay. But no, look, I want us to talk about a few different themes with the AFL's governance at the moment, because it certainly feels to me, as someone who is, I would say, fairly involved in football from a fan perspective, from an audience perspective. I watch at least 5 games a week live. Obviously, that's not always possible with time clashes or, having a life. But,
Sure.
Definitely usually watching Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I do as bad as some of the commentators are on the Sunday games, and there's a couple. I do enjoy the Sunday games; they're just a bit of fun. But
yeah, you get to check a good game out of a Sunday, that's for sure. And it's nice.
It's actually that's not true. There was one good game yesterday.
There was one good game yesterday. Yes,
the one I missed.
Oh, is it? That's okay, Jesse. Excused. You are excused for missing at least one game this weekend.
I mean, I have obviously watched set highlights to prepare for this show, but of course, the one I didn't watch live was, the good one.
The best one.
There's 4 themes I want to talk about here, and we'll get started with. There is 4. Let's get started with umpiring and technology, because while they're often separate, they've really intersected this week. Now, the AFL has admitted they made a mistake with the Griffin Logue touch behind.
Well, thank goodness for that, because it was pretty
famously not in a close game where it would have no material bearing on the end result. Now, simply put, if you're going to invest in the technology, and let me know, Liam, your thoughts, let me know at home if you think I'm completely off base here. If you're going to introduce this technology and say, we're going to rely on this technology to reduce the error rate, an error is unacceptable. It is absolutely, categorically, unquantifiably unacceptable. And I don't think it's too far to say that there needs to be significant questions at the top end of the AFL as to how this keeps happening. We saw it with Rowan Marshall on Sunday with, frankly, one of the most absurd things I've ever seen on a football field, and we'll get to that in a second. But on the Logue thing specifically, the mistake has been made. The mistake has been acknowledged, which, in fairness, is better than just burying your heads in the sand and saying, what? What do you mean? But But it is, for a professional sport organization, and I know I said the same thing talking about Butters that Liam clicked up very beautifully on YouTube. This is a professional sports organization. This is an organization that administers the biggest sport in Australia in terms of national interest at a consistency level, and by far and away one of the prime examples of a sport dominant in a nation that you will see anywhere around the world.
Yeah. Did you want my thoughts now, Jesse? Or should I let you finish your thoughts before I jump into the...
Well, my main thought about this is, I will, but the main thought about this part specifically, a mistake of any nature of this, if you're going to rely on technology, if the goal umpire misses this and it doesn't get reviewed because there is no review, and we just move on and we go, oh, that goal umpire's an idiot, I'm totally fine with that. Sure. Totally fine with that, because that is a human error. Well,
not forgetting that they review everything, Jesse, don't forget. Absolutely everything gets reviewed. But no, I think you're right. I think we've brought this in, and for the longest time since they've brought this ARC technology in to review everything, there's always been questions about the quality, about the cameras, all that kind of stuff. We understand that. But the other side of that is them wanting to, quote unquote, speed the game up. So they're trying to make these ARC decisions a lot quicker and a lot more fluid. That said, I've seen more time spent on trying to determine if a ball's gone out of bounds in the full than was spent on that Griffin Logue touch. And I was watching it on the TV, like passing, like just in part. I wasn't even watching it properly. I looked up and saw, oh yeah, he's touched that. Got on with my day, and I came back and they were setting up in the middle again. Like, what are we doing? What's the point? I would almost rather just go back to, like you were saying, just berating the goal umpire for making an error. But in that moment, though, you could see, and much like the Royal Marshall one as well, you could give the goal umpire the benefit of the doubt in either of those situations. But in both situations, the ARC has got involved and made some very, very baffling choices. Very baffling choices indeed. So I tend to agree. I tend to think that if we're not going to do it properly, then what is the actual point at all?
Do you feel like this is turning people off the game?
Well, turning people off the game is probably strong. I think that people are frustrated by it for sure. Case in point, this is the second week, and you look very cross, and that's how I know.
I'm extremely cross.
But I think I wouldn't say it's turning people off the game. I think people are just really frustrated by it. And you can hear it when they go to review and people start booing, right? For a goal behind,
I was booing one on Saturday night where I can't remember. It was at our end at Optus, and I can't remember which team it was. I think it was Fremantle were defending, and someone punched it through for a behind next to the goalpost, and it was so obvious.
It was Pierce, yeah. It was so obvious, yeah.
And I'm like, mate, I'm 40 meters away, and I can see this. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and I think that's where people are getting a bit frustrated. Like, you know, we want a fast game, and in some circumstances, it's working just fine. But it's those ones that are just like, just get on with it. Like, if it's a behind, it's a behind. If it's an obvious behind, or it's on that side of the spectrum of the goal, let it go. If they call it a behind, it's a behind. If they call it out, it's out. The goal makes sense because that has a bigger standing on the game. And I know you can say, well, you might win by a point. It could be a very important point. Who cares? Like, you know, if it's that close anyway, it shouldn't be determined by whether a ball has gone over the behind post or not. It doesn't make much sense. And I'm not too sure if you're going to bring this up, Jesse, but I have another issue with the ARC being used for bloody out of bounds now as well. Like,
well, we could talk about that because now we're reviewing everything. So could we not just replace these umpires with AI and save us money?
Sure.
Like seriously, like that's a serious question. If we're going to review boundary throw-ins, can we not just get one of that robot that ran a 54-minute half marathon in China to just come here and hoik the ball over its head? Like, you know what I mean? Like in all seriousness, what is the point of umpires if we're going to review things like everything? Like, are we not now? Have we gone past the point where we can say there is an element of, you know, the umpires are a factor in the game, and obviously that can go off the boil and quite badly. But like, I look at that and I say, well, okay, if they're reviewing these boundary throw-ins and last touch and last all that, then why are they not reviewing high tackles when someone ducks the head dragging for a free kick? Because that's not a correct interpretation of the rule. So you know what I mean? It leads to this point where it's like, well, if you're going to do half of it, would you not just do the whole thing? It seems like we're getting to a point now where the AFL doesn't really understand what supporters want out of the game. And I've definitely noticed that disconnect under the current administration widened dramatically. You know, we're told the AFL is the best it's ever been. No, it's not. And it's asking people to reject the evidence of the eye because they're happy with it. And I don't think you can look at the games now and say the AFL is the best it's ever been. I wouldn't say it's the worst it's ever been. You can't compare this to the 1900s and say, okay, yeah, this product sucks. Like, let's not be silly here. But
Sure.
to call it the best it's ever been, with 18 teams, some of the worst historical sides of all time in the last few years, terrible scandals week after week about umpiring, player welfare, anything. And we'll talk about some of that in a second as well. Like, it's not the best it's ever been. Like, telling us to reject the evidence of our eye is rubbish, and I won't have it, because the game is not the best it's ever been, because it's run by an administration that is constantly making mistakes, either being unable to accept it's made mistakes or admitting to mistakes and then just not fixing it.
Yeah, I was watching in my sports field weekend. I was watching some of the IPL over in India, and a kind of a comparison here is that they've started to now do reviews. Like, because if you can review for wickets and stuff like that, if you don't think you've nicked it, if you don't think it's an LBW, they were starting to review wide calls, and within the span of about 2 overs, and towards like the clutch time of the innings, there was like 5 reviews for wides. And I have never been so off-put by watching a game of anything in my entire life. And we run the risk of going down that path. If we're starting to stop, what is an intrinsically fast game being tried to be made faster by the AFL, and we're having to sit through review after review of, did it come off his shin or he's just above his knee to go out for a lasso free kick, the fans are going to start spewing. They're going to start revolting because it's gone.
Having a ref, I don't mind having like a bunker referee like I've got in the NRL. I know that's similar, but the idea of having someone in the ear saying, "Yep, Nick, no, it's come off his shin, pay it lasso," that's fine. If you've got someone watching on a monitor that can see that thing and make the call straight away and help the umpires on the field, that's totally fine. But
it's a good comparison though, because NRL do the bunker very, very well. And, there's all this competition between, I don't know why it's competition, because they're two very different sports.
We're not doing code wars on this podcast.
We're not doing code wars, but the bunker system works very, exactly. The bunker works supremely well for its intended purpose, right? And sure, different game, but it's very perfect. And umpiring in general in rugby across the world is like this. Like, you don't talk back.
They don't take silly buggers.
They don't take silly buggers at all. Come here. Don't talk to me like that, please. I've called it now. And these big burly dudes like, sorry, sir. Yeah, no worries, mate. But the bunker, the umpiring, it's respected. It's done well. We're missing a trick somewhere.
One thing I want to point out about how silly this whole thing is, this didn't go to review, but the single most intelligent play I saw anywhere across the round of football was Jordan Dawson in the Adelaide game. Contested ball on the wing. Ball clearly comes off Dawson's shin, but the Brisbane player and Dawson are close enough where it's like, okay, maybe it came with the Brisbane player. Dawson knows it's come off his shin. He's not an idiot. He just runs and grabs the balls and goes back as if it's his free kick. and then the two umpires have to have this conversation. Brisbane were out until that stoppage. I can't remember who the Brisbane player was. Had he gotten the ball and gone and kicked it straight away, Brisbane would have been out. Dawson just takes the ball and says, no, like, it's my free kick. And then the umpires have to have this little chat, this little chin wag in the middle of the gabba to decide whose ball it is. Waste 20 seconds, Brisbane flood back. Adelaide flood back. It's bizarre.
Yeah, that's the thing though. That's the level of respect I think the AFL players have for the umpires, akin to, completely separate to what the rugby players do. Like, it wouldn't happen in rugby. Like, sure, there's little strategic moves you can make in those little cheeky circumstances. See, was it Keys from a few weeks back after asking the crowd to hold on to it? That's a bit fun. But there's not that same respect, I don't think, in the AFL, because, like you said, they have to have a chin wag. They have to discuss it with each other, and then the decision that comes out the other end is, we don't know. We don't know. We've all got different opinions. All right. Well, have your say down below. We're going to get into some games now. But have your say down below. What are your thoughts about this whole fiasco at the moment, be it the ARC, be it the tribunal, your thoughts in general about the state of the game at the moment? We would love to hear from you, of course, down below in the comments. Jesse, we've spoken about the differences in talent across the competition at the moment. None a better example than this round of football that we have just witnessed. Shall we jump into the game recap, Jesse?
I think yes, we will. Let's do a bridge on this. I talk about competitive balance before. You can't look at this league and tell me this is a competitively balanced league. We talk about the best it's ever been. We're starting to see more St Kildas in that St Kilda have been irrelevant for 100 years. We're starting to see clubs barrel towards those type of win-loss records. with a lot more consistency. This is getting quite bad.
Yeah, it is. All right, we'll start off on Thursday Night Football. Let me just share my screen here. Jesse, Western Bulldogs 9-6-60 going down to the Sydney Swans 18-126. Oh boy, wowee. Bit of a slog there, mate. Bit of a slog. The Dogs are in a bit of hurt at the moment, aren't they, Jesse?
Yeah, decimated Dogs at the moment. Sydney, keep finding teams at the right time. They were dominant here. Charlie Kerner had a field day. I mean, honestly, I don't know if Buku Kamas went to training today. He probably was entitled to go and hide under his bed for an hour.
I feel bad for the bloke.
I feel bad for him, especially given he didn't want to be there this year. He wanted to go to Carlton. Like, he wouldn't have had to deal with this in the last fortnight. Would have been like, I don't know.
Would have come with its own challenges.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have had Cameron and Kerno in 2 weeks with no other key defenders around. At least Weitering would have sheltered you. Said it's okay.
You could have never predicted the decimation of the Bulldogs have experienced with injuries at the moment. But no, Buku Kamas is unfortunately getting the very raw end of the stick here. And I'm seeing a lot of the media going after him. I'm like, come on, guys. He's not designed.
We know what Buku Kamas is as a footballer.
Yeah. He's not designed to be playing on the Kernos and the Camerons. He's just not. Bless him. But no, it was. Let's start off real quick with another potential injury concern. I've heard he's okay, which is good, and I heard he might be able to suit up against Freo this coming week, which would be shocking, because that Aaron Norton,
oh my god,
situation was genuinely scary, really, really scary, and you could see the crowd were very worried for the boy. Look, if you haven't seen it, don't go out and find it, but just know that he went up for a mark, got his legs taken out from underneath him and flipped over very fast into the turf. And I reckon he was centimetres, if not millimetres away from a very, very bad day.
Yes, I agree. Very fortunate Aaron appears to have avoided any serious damage or injuries, so that's obviously a big tick for him. What is not a big tick for the Bulldogs, though, and I know injuries are a caveat here, but they've really unravelled back to the Dogs that we were worried about. With defensively, they're all over the place, and there are key injuries there. But we've said pretty consistently that they need to fix their defensive depth. That hasn't happened. You lose one or two key players. This is the end result.
Yeah, it's the short end of the stick, really, isn't it? There's not much more to say. I mean, if the depth's not there, then you're going to see yourself getting pumped every week, which is a shame because at the start of this season, the first 3 or 4 games, the Bulldogs were looking absolutely fantastic. Oh my god, it was. We were talking about how if a Freo team came up against them, we'd be cooked because of their run, their pace, and it's all pretty much gone. I mean, we'll see when Freo play the next week if it's actually all gone. But
maybe wait 7 days before that tackle him.
Yeah, I might do. Yeah, we'll rewind that one.
You can play on Friday. You can even wait 5.
There we go. That's right. Friday night game, very fun. But no, it's a bit of a concern now for the Bullies. I think there's their injuries are all pretty long term as well. Yeah, I think like you said, Jesse, the Swans got them at the right time. But that said, the Swans still looking pretty good. They're still looking pretty good, Jesse. What are your thoughts?
They are. I come back to the limiting factor, though, that the only side I think they've really played in their peak is Hawthorn, and they lost to them. So, their percentage was great, but they've had Gold Coast at the right time, the Dogs at the right time, they've had Carlton, which is a freebie. GWS are nowhere near a wildcard team right now, in my opinion. So you're talking more than half their wins being either right place, right time, or freebies. And West Coast, man, that's king of the freebies at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, them in Richmond, absolutely. Look, we'll get a better idea of where Sydney are at next week. Obviously, playing Melbourne, who are a bit of an on-form team at the moment, so that'll be an interesting one. You can catch our thoughts on that and tips and trades on YouTube tomorrow after you listen to this. See what we think about the games coming up. But no, Warner was fantastic. Grundy's fantastic as always. Couldn't put Kerno in there because obviously he kicked the bag. But is there really much more to add for this one, Jesse? I think it's pretty straightforward what we saw from this particular game, that the Bullies are in strife. They're in
big trouble.
Yeah. All right. We'll truth on to Friday Night Football, Jesse. Here we go. At Marvel Stadium, 11-6-72 to the Tigers, going down to the Demons, 19-12, 126, who just continue their winning ways in season 2026. What are your thoughts on this one, Jesse?
Gee, that Essendon loss looks even more confusing.
Well, yeah. I mean, we both thought that maybe there was a chance the Demons might do something silly here, based on that, and them being the Freo circa 2023 team. But no, they did it. They got the 4 points, Jesse, fairly convincingly as well.
Yeah, this is getting really bad for Richmond now. And I talked about this earlier. Competitive balance is tipping towards a crisis point. And there's 3 teams I'm referring to, Richmond obviously being one of them, where the football is uncompetitive. And it's, at least with Richmond, there's been a clear intent behind what they're trying to do. They gutted the list. They got a bunch of draft picks in. They're getting experience into these guys. So, there's an understanding that at least this is going in the right direction. But can you have, in an 18-team league, can you have 3 teams be this terrible? In a league like the NBA where there's, 30 teams, you can live with 3, absolute garbage teams. That's 10% of the league.
Some of the teams in the NBA are actively going out there to be garbage.
Yeah.
NBA's broken. The NBA is broken in itself. Anyway, that's a different story and a different podcast.
But then you're talking 1 in 6 teams in the AFL.
Yeah.
So you have a 1 in 6 chance as a percentage of having an absolute freebie each week. Is that good? Is that good for the league? Is that good for the AFL? We're not going to talk about this game much because honestly, there's not much to talk about. Melbourne were very good. Richmond were better than they have been in recent weeks, but still far off the pace. But this is not good for anyone. This doesn't suit anybody. Richmond fans turn up. They have to watch this. Neutrals turn up. And I'm not going to use the word they used to describe this game because I have my own thoughts on that. But
I don't know what word did they use?
Well, what's the day before Anzac Day? It's the 24th of April.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, gotcha. Yep.
So I look at this and I cannot understand why we're expanding into 19 teams from a competition health point of view. And I know TV deal, money, whatever, that's fine. But this is not the time to be expanding when you have 3 teams that are genuinely horrendous. And last year it was 4. So North have kind of kicked themselves out of this for now. They've had a very nice draw to start things off, admittedly. But in terms of, and I'm talking actual on-field skill, Carlton could be down in terms of win-loss record. They've been rubbish. But in terms of on-field performance, Richmond have been horrible, haven't won a game. Essendon have been horrible, have won 1 game, looked okay in another. West Coast have been horrible, won 2 games. That looks like an absolute glitch in the matrix compared to every other result around that.
Yeah.
But do we not see the problem here? This is not good. If a team has a 1 in 6 chance of an absolute freebie each week, of course you're going to have teams on 170%. Of course you're going to have teams missing out on top 4 with 17 wins or 16 wins. That's going to happen when you have a 1 in 6 chance of an absolute birthday party. What does this do for the competition?
Yeah.
You bring a 19th team in. Obviously, I would hope the same 3 teams aren't rubbish in 2028. Hopefully. So you bring in Tasmania. Tasmania will suck for the first couple of years. That's just how expansion teams are.
Suckers.
Are you going to have the same 3 teams down there as well? So you then have a 4 in 19, so better than 1 in 6 chance of an absolute freebie each week. You add team 20 in and say 2035. You don't improve competitive balance. You then have potentially 4 teams in a 20 is a 1 in 5 chance. 5 teams in a 2010 competition is 1 in 4.
Yeah.
That cannot happen. That cannot happen. It's already bad enough as it is. If we can't fix competitive balance, we are beyond a crisis for the AFL because that will become uninteresting. And then there are some people who don't have an interest in the Premier League because, City and Arsenal are going to win every year. You might get the almost inverse problem of that I'm not watching this. They suck. They're terrible. I'm like, why would I watch this? Why would I spend $80 to go to an Eagles game? And I'm don't want to bash on West Coast, but they do have the highest ticket prices in the competition. So we can for this exercise. Why would I pay $80 to go watch West Coast Richmond this weekend? Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Where is the quality in this game? And again, they will get better. So it's not about punching down on them just for being bad at the moment. It's an AFL issue of competitive balance. When these 2 teams play, in theory, one of them is going to win. But who wants to watch that as a non-committed AFL fan, neutral, or just a casual West Coast or casual Richmond fan?
Mm-hmm.
The only incentive you have to watch this game as a casual West Coast or casual Richmond fan is, we actually might win this week. But then that speaks to a bigger problem anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jesse, you're going into a lot of stuff that we could talk about in tips and trades, just the tips.
Yeah, we'd like to keep that shorter.
Yes, probably will. But on this game alone, any positives for Richmond coming out of this one?
No, not really.
Fantastic.
To be honest,
Anything?
like it's just where they are.
Yeah, it is kind of where they are. Obviously,
And
a bit of a high score.
I don't want to be sneering and dismissive of Richmond because I know that's not nice. And I want to make it clear again, I'm not having a go at Richmond. This isn't like an attack on them.
Sure.
But honestly, okay, Reg was good. There's one. Lawler, if he gets more midfield time, will be very good very soon. But like they're just not a competitive side. And it's hard when you look at this because Melbourne have admittedly been better than we thought they were going to be this season. But I also don't think they're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've been... They've just not been competitive, and realistically, they should have beaten Carlton. Looking back on that, how they didn't beat Carlton, I do not know. And what a missed opportunity that was, because since then they've been completely played off the park in just about every other game.
Yep, Demons are looking pretty good though, Jesse. Obviously 5-1 now, which is very, very good for the D's. Pickett. I'm like portmanteau central these last few weeks. I swear to God, just putting two words together, smash them. Pickett's been very good. Steele's been fantastic. Obviously, the pickup of the trade period for sure. I think it's probably in the books now. That was probably the best trade that happened across the off season. They're looking good. I'm excited for the D's and the D's fans. Obviously, they've been starved since 2021 ish. Kind of went down off a cliff. Starting to come back up a little bit now. Just needed a bit of a change of pace. But we'll move on, Jesse. We'll get on to the next game. Because who knows where you're going to go off next. You might go off on this one as well. It's another smashing. UTAS, the Hawks, 16-16, 122, to easily taking care of the Gold Coast Suns, 9-9-63. Okay, are we worried about the Suns yet, Jesse?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, this is kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. The Canary was in the coal mine with the Essendon performance last week. This is a real concern now for the Suns. So they've been played off the park by Sydney on a rectangle. Sorry, played off the rectangle by Sydney. They've then barely beaten a terrible Essendon side at home, and make no mistake, we'll get to that. They are terrible. And now they've been absolutely smashed by the Hawks in Tassie. Now, this is going to make things very tough for the Suns now, because I think they're a confidence team. Mm-hmm. And right now, it looks like confidence is at an all-time low.
Yes, it does. I mean, obviously, Petrarca came back in. He's been very good, but that X factor we thought he might be, or did it look like he was at the start of the season as well, has definitely petered off. That's for sure. So it's hard to argue against that point, Jesse. I mean, an interesting one coming up this week against the GWS Giants. If they go down there, then I think it's definitely danger signs all over for the Suns. What's Harvick doing? I thought he was the one who was going to get all mad at them, Jesse. He was going to get mad and start yelling at them like he always does. Bring him back around to speed.
I wouldn't want to be at training this week if I was a Gold Coast player, that's for sure.
You've said that 3 times in a row now, mate.
Yeah.
3 times.
And I stand by it every single time.
What is it? What's happened, do you reckon? I know you said obviously a confidence thing, but there must be something else, surely. Have they lost an edge somewhere?
I wonder if they've just been found out, potentially.
That's early.
Yeah, it is. And that's the worry. I look at this and I just say, let's go through some numbers here, because... Okay. We can.
Because credit where credit's due, while you're looking at the numbers.
Hawthorn was brilliant.
Well, yeah, not 100%. But I was going to say, more realistically, is we have got Justin Longmuir week on week for having no plan B. Is it a case that Harvey doesn't have a plan B either?
Well, it's a worry. I mean, 60 inside 50s for 63 points is terrible. And it looks like a case of you stop being king, you might just stop the Suns scoring. Because if you go through their goal kickers from... Saturday, you've got Weller with 2, midfielder, Long with 2, always good for a couple, King with 2, didn't touch the ball much but gets his goals, Humphrey with 2, Ugle-Hagan with 1. So that's going to make things hard when you've got Gunston the other end kicking 5.
Yep.
That's going to make things very hard.
Yeah.
And then individual goal kickers for the Hawks. So one only. Nash, McDonald, Lewis, Impey, Ginnivan, D'Ambrosio, Barras. Ugle-Hagan was the only guy to kick one goal.
Sorry, did you say Barras?
I did.
What the hell?
50 metres.
Oh, yeah, cool. Fair enough.
Please and thank you.
You know, it's a good day when the defender's kicking one against you. That's for sure. 50 metres or not. Yeah, no, it's a bit of a worry for the Suns. I know because we were both very excited for them coming to this year, but we were also very excited for the Hawks, who are obviously admittedly very good and probably sitting themselves now pretty much firmly as the front runner. I know they're not sitting top of the table at the moment,
I think they're the ones.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be hard. I think I'm looking forward to. I know we keep talking. We're waxing lyrical about future games this round. I'm looking forward to 2 weeks when we get to take them on because it's going to be good for us to see where we're actually sitting. Us being, of course, the Freo Dockers.
Real acid test there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, they're the ones to beat at the moment, Jesse. Is there anything else specifically you want to say about the Hawks, or should we move on? Or the Suns, for that matter.
Thought Eamon had a really good game. It's just hard to know with the Suns where the fix comes from now. I think we need to really keep an eye on them against the Giants. I'll be definitely tuning into that game this weekend. That's a must watch for me to see where the Suns are at.
All right, let's move on to Anzac Day proper. Well, I mean, this is Anzac Day proper, but the game that everyone talks about, Jesse, the Bombers 9-6.
I stand by it. 4 games on Anzac Day is too much.
Well, just because of the additional the services at the start, because I mean, we've got 4 this week coming up as well.
The services are fine. That's obviously very important and very respectful. But I'm of the opinion that we don't need 8 teams putting their heads in the Anzac Day trough.
Yeah,
I think 4 games is too much. I think 2 is fine, and obviously acknowledging that Fremantle's had a game that's now gone for 29 years. It's not always been on Anzac Day, so you know what? If Fremantle has to move every other year, that's okay. I don't mind. It's not a case of, well, my team should play at Anzac Day. No one else. Like, no, I get it. Collingwood and Essendon is Anzac Day.
Yes.
That is Anzac Day.
Correct.
Keep that. If Fremantle and, I don't know, Port want to swap every year, that's fine. I don't think we need 4 games, though.
Fair shout. 9-6-60 to the Bombers, going down to the Magpies 20-17, 137, and it was another bit of a pantsing. Jesse, Scott Pendlebury turning back the clock, breaking all sorts of records in this particular game. Obviously, the team that he's playing probably definitely helped in that. But 43 touches, pretty fantastic. His highest ever disposals game. Just waited for game 421-ish to make sure that happened, Jesse. But he was fantastic, wasn't he?
He was. Pendlebury, the Dacosses, Crisp, Houston, all dominant. Half of those guys are veterans, which is even more concerning from Essendon's point of view. Look, I really like this from the Pies. This was a great win for them. They're probably one of the only 3 teams in the competition. I'm still not really not sure where they sit. Obviously, take nothing away. The performance is excellent, but you do have to caveat it against who they're playing. I'm pretty confident. I'm going to start that again.
Okay.
They can make the top 6, Collingwood, this year, because they can win games against sides maybe better than them because they're so set up tactically. These are the games I'm more worried about with Collingwood, when they take on these sides that are maybe around them or a bit below them, where opposition coaches and players might be willing to try a bit more bolder things to go and deal with them. Whereas Collingwood can control games against just about anyone. It's a matter of how the other team responds. Essendon just rolled over here. This was pathetic by the Bombers. This is not competitive balance. This team's dreadful.
It was a little bit competitive for the first half, and then it just wasn't. It just literally stopped after halftime, more or less. Might have even been a bit earlier than that, Jesse. But at the start, because obviously, famously, I tipped them this week, which is very funny. And I was very excited for the first little half. I was like, oh, maybe they got a chance here. They got something going on, and then just got absolutely beaten up everywhere around the ground. But positives for Bombers.
Positive for Bombers. Roberts gets a lot of the ball.
He does. Great for fantasy.
Does he hurt you?
Well, clearly not.
It's Aaron Hall 2.0. He doesn't hurt you. The bloke doesn't hurt you. He takes kick-ins. He gets 15-metre chip pass. Now, sure, everyone's got one of those.
Sure. But
this bloke doesn't hurt you. Players that actually can hurt you. Parrish did nothing. Merritt did nothing. McGrath did nothing. Langford was okay if you wanted the positive. Sardis did nothing. Back to the same old Sardis that we've always known. Durham got 15 touches. I mean, isn't this bloke one of the highest paid players? Mm-hmm. Like 15 touches in a game that means so much to the footy club. Ben Mackay was horrific, like horrifically bad. Caddy had a nearly day, 3 goals, could have had a lot more. Realistically, you count the players with a positive future on Essendon's list with one hand. And, Caddy is probably the lamplighter of that. Kako's now got back stress. How that's going to look for him remains to be seen. Sharp and Roby struggled. Farrow looks like a player. It's just not a very good team. But really, we can say, Roby and Sharp did nothing their first year play, But really, Parrish and Merritt, just not acceptable from these guys. These guys are leaders of the footy club, allegedly. McGrath as well. Throw in Caldwell. I missed Caldwell in the first round. He got 16 touches. So Caldwell, Durham, Merritt, Parrish. This is meant to be the Bombers' best players. They did nothing. They honestly may as well have stayed home.
So much so I had to put Saad El Halawi in the El Holi in the actual bests here, which I actually think I don't think he had a terrible game, to be honest with you. Obviously, he had to be pretty busy, but I thought he was okay. I thought he was okay in this one compared to what he's been in the past.
He had a very bad third quarter, but I think on balance, I think you're right. I think he was one of their better players, which is honestly more of a criticism of the rest of the team.
Well, I was going to say, so did the Bombers in general. Third quarter was pretty rubbish across the board. I will move on, Jesse, to the next game. The surprise, the upset of the round has to be at least one at Adelaide Oval. The Port Adelaide Power 13-17-95, defeating the Geelong Cats 10-5-65. Cheeky 5-goal win there for the Power. Look, what happened, Jesse? They kind of just seemed to be that turned it on this game. All of a sudden, it's just like the car system works all of a sudden by the looks of it. Or was it a case of the Geelong Cats just had a really bad night?
I think two things can be true. We saw probably some better play by Port last week against the Hawks. So maybe this is a case of things are finally gelling. I say finally, it's been 2 months. Things are starting to gel under Josh Carr for Port, which is obviously fantastic for them. Look, Geelong can throw a couple of these games in each year where they just don't look themselves, and yet they still finish on 15 wins, and it's fine. So, in the absence of follow-up evidence, i.e. Geelong continuing to be bad, I'm not concerned about the Cats. Like, they were poor on this night. A lot of their top guys didn't really show up. Cameron had a quiet night. Dangerfield did nothing. Holmes wasn't at his best. Obviously, losing Blixall has made a big impact on them as well. But I think you could be willing to forgive Geelong here and praise Port for what was a brilliantly executed game plan and a lot of their top guys really standing up when it counted.
Well, what happened with Dangerfield? Because I think it only ended up with like 4 touches, I think. Something very, very, very small. Was it did you see anything in relation to the Power shutting him down? Or was he just really well covered all night? Well,
I think it's just his role now. Like he's no longer a guy that's going to get you 30 and 2. Again, it's not a criticism of him. Like he's a veteran. I'm honestly surprised. I think had they won the flag last year, he would have been done. Is my opinion. Whether that's true or not, you can decide that for yourselves. But I think I'm just trying to find his statistics so we can have a look at him with a bit more depth. Oh, D's for Dangerfield. Don't know why I'm down the bottom. Here we go. That was a bizarre thing. Like he's equaling his goals per game compared to last year. Obviously, we had a lot less time played. Mm-hmm. But he's down 6 disposals a game, down almost 2 tackles a game, down a clearance a game. Like he's not having the same impact.
We can't be too hard on him, can we? Because like you said, he's at the end. He's twilighting his career now. So, yeah,
and unlike a lot of veterans, he held very good productivity and at least a usefulness in the team. Like he went from being a guy getting 20 touches and half a goal a game in 24, when he was probably starting to go down, to 15 and 1.3 goals a game. So he was really able to revitalise his role and inflict serious pain on teams in a different manner. I just think maybe it's a case now of he's obviously a lot closer to the end than the start, and we just can't expect him to be a guy that's going to... He'll have a couple of great games. His prelim final game last year was amazing. He's still got a couple of those in him this season, but I think we also need to start recognising the fact that it's like Gary Ablett Jr.'s absolute last season. Like he adds more to the team than just 12 touches a game with his presence on the field, his leadership on the field. And he can still cause damage to the point where he's not a liability. I don't think Patrick Dangerfield is a liability at this stage. And, we can still expect to see some pretty good stuff from him.
Georgiades, I think, what did he end up with at the end? 4 goals, 7, 4 goals, 6 for Mitch. I think it was a wayward night that could have been much more damaging for him. But that said, he was still very good. Horn Francis had a great game. Sweet was great through the ruck as well. Lots of hit outs for him. Although I'm not too sure there was much competition from the Geelong side in that regard, Jesse.
No, well, Edwards had to do most of the ruck work. It was game, but I think ultimately strong. I mean, Visentini also had 22 hit outs, Sweet with 31. So a difficult night for the Cats. I'm pretty willing to forgive it. Like I said before, it's just simply a case of they have a couple of bad nights a year. Like Brisbane. I think Brisbane and Geelong are really similar in this matter. They're going to grind out enough wins over the season where it doesn't matter. We'll get to the finals. They'll be 4th. They'll be playing in the first round of the finals. This game won't be in anyone's memory. This will come up on Brownlow night and they'll make a funny quip about it. I'll say, I remember that. That was really weird. I can't wait to see Geelong versus Brisbane in the grand final this year.
Yeah, fair shout, Jesse. Okay, we've got 4 games to go. We're already at 52 minutes. We've got to hustle through. But do we have to, Jesse? Because this next game is an interesting one. Freo Dockers, 16-7-103, defeating the Carlton Blues, 13-11-89. First of all, yay. We love a good win, Jesse. But I feel like, obviously, as Freo fans, we may be kind of criticised for being a bit too harsh on our boys from time to time. But unfortunately, I'm going to do it again, because that was probably one of the most underwhelming victories I felt for quite some time. And I'll tell you why. Obviously, I was down south. I didn't go to the game, so I was watching on the telly box. And the start of that fourth quarter was amazing. Like, just came out of the blocks like crazy. Bang, bang, bang. Shea Bolton was everywhere, kicked a couple, 4 goals up. And then it seemed that at around about the 12-minute mark, so a shitload of time left in the game, they stopped. Like it's almost like they were instructed to just park the bus. And I was fuming. Yes, I was fuming. I was just like, we've just shown what we can do for 5 minutes of football if we just run and go and get a clearance out there. Jackson's obviously dominating the ruck. Yet it was almost like they were instructed just to stop. And because I don't know why they would otherwise. And it was really, really frustrating. And it let Carlton back in, to be fair. Like, they battled pretty hard all night, did Carlton. They kept themselves in the game for the most part. I didn't really feel ever in much danger of Carlton winning the game, but I was watching with my buddy. He's a Swans supporter, and he was just like, and I know you said this in our chat, but he felt like that Voss was out coaching J-Lo for most of that game. So frustrating. Jesse, what were your thoughts being there in live and in the person?
I have my concerns with Fremantle, and it's there's
6-1 Fremantle.
yeah, but it's weird because I'm actually not that hot on the top two sides in the competition on win-loss record at the moment. I don't think they're the ones that are in the grand final this year. I have a couple of concerns with Fremantle. Number one, I don't think right now this is a fully fledged team. I mean, I think Dudley needs to spell at Peel. I think Switkowski will probably be saved by the fact Dudley needs one more. But like, neither of these guys. Like, Dudley's now had 2 weeks where he's done nothing, and I know he's little. I know he runs around a lot, and that's great, and that's amazing, and it's very fun when he gets on the ball. But he's not doing anything at the moment. Like, that's 2 weeks in a row now where he's been a non-factor in the game, a complete non-factor. Starting to worry about Erasmus as well. It feels like he's really gone off a cliff in the last month. He started the season really well. I don't think you can play. Yeah, but he's not a guy that hurts you. And I think it comes back to the debate of, can you have Johnson, Erasmus, and eventually O'Meara in the same team? I don't think you can long term. I think Johnson's now proven he's got that versatility, and his set of bounce attendances have been good when he's been in there. I think having him in there with Shea and one of Caleb and Andy really works, because they all do things very differently, and that allows for complete coverage of that centre circle. I don't think you can have Warner and Ryan in the same team. I really think they're the same player. And honestly, I don't rate either of them as a defender in terms of one-on-one defensive work. I think they're both very vulnerable in that. I don't know. Warner had 23 touches. That's nice. But I'm concerned about our defensive capabilities at the moment. I'm even more concerned, though, Liam, that Fremantle's inability to break down sides that should be below them is glaring. And what can happen with that, and it hasn't happened yet, because they just beat Adelaide and they just beat Collingwood, and I emphasise the just there. But if you can't then go and deal with these type of games, you lose to a couple of good sides, and then you have to play a team like Carlton coming off those, well, then you're in real danger of losing that, because your game plan doesn't break teams. And, you know, I don't think Fremantle's at the level of a Geelong or a Brisbane where they can just go through and churn out wins with consistency, because I still feel like the poor tactical awareness is there. And, you know, obviously 6-1 is a brilliant start. It's better than I thought we'd do. It's a really positive sign. And realistically, I don't think there's an excuse for us to not go 7-1, in my opinion. So it really should be a fantastic start for Fremantle. But I look at this list and I just think there's still, there's been all this talk, they got the complete list. What else do they need? I do think they need to fix the bottom 2 or 3 players that get best 23 each week.
we won't go into it much longer because obviously we've got some more games to go through, Jesse. But I think it's one of those things as a Freo fan, and most Freo fans will feel this, is that we've been starved for success for so long that even if we're winning 6-1, we're like, okay, what's going to go wrong? That's kind of how I feel. And you make some good points, though.
I don't feel like this is a 6-1 team. Though. Obviously, you can't argue with the win-loss record.
No,
but I don't think this is the strength of a 6-1 side. I look at sides, and I will go to the ladder as well. So we're talking relatively
quickly now.
I know. So Hawthorn are 6-1 as well. They're third because their percentage is worse than Sydney's and Fremantle's. I think they're the best team in the competition right now. Brisbane are 4-3. I would back Brisbane to beat Fremantle right now. Geelong are 4-3. Well, we've already seen what happened when those two teams faced off. Adelaide are 3-4, having lost to Fremantle. Collingwood are 4-3, having lost to Fremantle. The closeness of those games, though, just makes me wonder.
Yeah. I will say, I mean, Bolton was fantastic. Jackson was fantastic. Kemp kind of was running roughshod for in the forward line, probably highlighting your concerns with our defensive prowess at the moment, because he's not a big fella by any stretch of the imagination, but he was doing very well. Walsh was doing his bit as well.
Walsh was absolutely... He tore Fremantle apart for lots of Saturday. He was brilliant to watch.
All right, we'll move on, Jesse. Let's go on. And we do love the Dockers. Don't get us wrong. We do. We're just worried. All right, let's go to this one. We won't spend too much time on this because it's really sad.
No, I think we need to.
Okay. 22-11, 143 to the Saints, 5-12-42. Another 100-point drubbing at the hands of the West Coast Eagles, delivered to the West Coast Eagles. Grim, Jesse, grim. I was watching this at the pub down in Margaret River, in Dunsborough, and a bunch of Eagles fans there, and they were none too happy, and I cannot blame them. Go on, Jesse. What do you want to say about this one?
Well, how could you be?
No, you couldn't be at all.
How on earth could you be happy with this? This is getting to the point now where we can actually start to question if they've improved from last year. Like, yeah, okay, if you look at an arbitrary win-loss record, they have. They've doubled their output from last year, and they've done it in a fraction of the time. But they were terrible for most of Sunday. They were absolutely terrible. And keep in mind, St Kilda are not an attacking team. They're not a freewheeling, sexy scoring outfit. And yet they were utterly obliterated. They were played off the park and humiliated by the St Kilda team, which is going to make it very difficult now going into what is really I feel like a must-win game for both West Coast and Richmond this weekend, if for nothing else, but to show your supporters something. Now, West Coast, you could already argue, have done that with their 2 wins early in the season, but you've then had 200-point losses since then.
Yeah,
while it did a derby, that really should have been 100 points in the derby as well. You know, it's concerning. Like, we talked about it when they lost to Sydney. We'll have those two wins being erased by the manner of this loss to Sydney. I think now with this loss, we can say, yeah, they have been. And that those 2 wins in terms of progress and improvement, you know, have been erased. Now, obviously, progress isn't linear, but West Coast have now been horrific for 5 years in a row, going back to 2022. I don't think they've won 10 games in that time, have they? If they have, they've barely won 10 games.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. And like, we were so excited for those 2 wins a few weeks back. It
was great. It was a real buzz around West Coast again all of a sudden.
Yeah, it was buzz around West Coast.
Completely eroded.
I think eroded is very, very generous, Jesse. I think it literally someone blew up the foundations. It all came crumbling down. Yeah, it's a bit of a worry for the Eagles. Like we've said a few times this episode, definitely a big chance for them this week to get another win under their belts, which would be nice. 3 for the year, but you can't see them doing much more than that if that's kind of the kind of performances they're going to be delivering on a week by week basis. And it's the last 3 or 4 weeks now it's been hard to watch, Jesse, and not even just as a football fan. It's been hard to watch as a football fan. It's always fun when you get the 101 point, the 100-point plus drubbings. It's always fun. Unless it's not, and this is not a fun one. I think it's a bit sad now. Wilkie, Wanganeen Miller, and Higgins were all very good for the Saints, amongst others. But yeah, I think the tail of the tape is definitely in the Eagles side there. Jesse, what do you reckon?
Yeah, it's getting grim now, and like I don't think it's necessarily a kid's problem. Lindsay was brilliant. I thought he really showed a lot. Dersman looked fantastic. Next week we'll do grading the class of 2025 so far. To preempt that, I'd say both Lindsay and Dersman will be getting pretty high grades across what they showed this season, and also especially for what they showed here. I'm just concerned though. I mean, Yo was bad. Like, to be honest, Kelly did nothing. Duggan is Duggan at this point, and that's depressing. It's not a very good team. They've had a couple of injuries that have really upset. Like Robertson and Starcevich were brought in to kind of fix the rot a bit here, and neither of them. Robertson's had a handful of games. Starcevich, is now a seemingly perennial calf injury. It's a real concern. You look at the guys. Let's look very quickly. Let's look at the guys they've brought in the last couple of years as trades, not including draftees. Baker, he's added a lot of spirit to the team. He has had some pretty average games this season, to be honest. Starcevich hasn't played. Can't really grade that. Who else have we got here? We have that's been unmitigated disaster. Horrific. Some of the worst stuff we've seen. Devin Robertson injured. Finley McRae playing for the seconds. Schoenberg playing for the seconds now, having dropped out of the first team, which is concerning in the quality of squad they've got. So in terms of recruitment, and I'm just literally skimming this. Tyler Young, is he better than Sandy Brock? That's a question I shouldn't have to ask. And it's a real worry I have to ask that question. That's not very good for West Coast. So that's a real recruitment dilemma for me. This is a real problem now for the Eagles, is in that they've brought in experienced players, one way or another, whether they're experienced and just not very good, or experienced and a bit of quality, who either through not being very good or not being fit are not on the field, with the exception of Baker. And Graham, who's now also injured. He's been good when he's played, but he's also missed a fair few games due to injury as well. So, it's a real concern for me, the Eagles. And maybe in a fortnight after we do the draftees, we could talk about where West Coast lists are at, because if they don't beat Richmond, it might get really, really long for them this season. This could be a real painful back half of 2026.
All right, Jesse, we left ourselves literally about 2 minutes to talk about the last two games. So we have to fly through them. Here we go. The
Says
Lions,
who?
says me. 19-13, 127 to the Lions. Defeating quite handily the Adelaide Crows 11-9-75. Kind of similar question to the Gold Coast Suns, Jesse. Are we worried about Adelaide now?
Not in advance as my worry about the Crows, despite the worst win-loss record. I'm definitely starting to get to that point. I did say that I didn't feel they would be as strong this year as they were last year, because you have a team surge up like that, there can be a bit of a second season syndrome with that type of stuff. In saying that, I didn't think they'd be 3-4. And this is probably the only game where they've been thumped or certainly comfortably dealt with, I think. Happy to be corrected on that if I'm wrong, and I've just deleted a game from my head this season. But, I think about losses to likes of Geelong, Fremantle, the Dogs, I think, was pretty close as well, wasn't it? So they've had a couple of close run losses, but this is a real disappointing one here for me. Can't be losing like this. I know Brisbane very good at home, and a lot of their guys really stood up and were counted, but I'm quite concerned in the manner in which the Crows lost, yet as long as they can bounce back on Friday night, I'm prepared to be a bit more generous than I am with the Suns.
The punters all saying the Lions are back, Jesse. What do you reckon? Just one big win, that's all it takes for them.
When did they leave?
I don't know. I think this is the thing, right? Because when you watch the main kind of AFL content, it's a lot of just they just focus on like the whoever's at the top, right? Yeah. So Sydney, Freo, Hawks, they're all contenders, but because Brisbane had a little cheeky slow start of the season, they're not quite up there. They're still fifth now. They're back up to fifth. So now they're back up at the top echelon of the ladder. They're back, Jesse. They're back, according to them. But I agree with you. I think they're just the double reigning premiers. We've never been really too worried about them. They're a fantastic outfit. They're a fantastic team. How'd you see them in this one?
Excellent. They were brilliant here. Absolutely smashed Adelaide around the ball. Fagan set this game up so well from the start. He had Coleman roving as a spare defensively. It was just every time Adelaide would get out, they'd run into one-on-ones or a sweeper. And they just could not get anything going from defensive 50. Like Worrell had his worst game I've seen in a long time. He was, looked off it for me. Rochelle was anonymous. Rankin had sparks but struggled. Concerned about McAndrew, 17 minutes off at the end of the game. Tex also had a similar bench time as well. So honestly, it kind of gave me like virus or illness vibes from the playing groups. I don't know. We weren't there, but just a couple of things. I'm just wondering if maybe something's gone around the camp. I'm not trying to make excuses for them. They were absolutely walloped here, and it wasn't even close. But it was interesting, just some of the bench time for some key players, whether it was the case of, well, we've already lost this game. There's no point risking it. I would have appreciated McAndrew playing it out for my fantasy team. But, regardless, I just think it's a case of, it's been a disappointing win-loss record for Adelaide. Yeah, I think they've only played one bad game, and this was that.
Fair enough, Jesse. All right, we have to move on to the last game of the round. The closest one by a long shot. The GWS Giants getting a win, 15-15, 105, beating the Kangaroos 14-14. 98 in what was controversial circumstances at the end of the game there, Jesse, in the aforementioned ARC review shenanigans that were going on. Look, not a bad little game of football, this one. Quite a back and forth battle. GWS pulled out in front. Kangas brought it back, fought back and forth, hammer and tong, throwing everything they had at each other. But in the end, the Giants were just a little bit too strong. What are your thoughts on this one, Jesse?
Spirited Roos. The Giants absolutely had no other choice but to win this game, so they'll be relieved that they did. I'm still very worried about them, to be honest. We talked about performances and not being concerned about Adelaide losing necessarily as much. I'm not at all enthralled by the Giants winning. I just don't think this is a very good side. And, they've barely beaten North, who have been a lot better this season, but ultimately they're still building into their list and still building into their frame as a football club at the moment. So I think we just need to be mindful of that the Giants were carried a lot by, I think you got Green and Whitfield there. I think they're the main two. They really did carry them, but there's still passengers out there for GWS, and they're limiting factors at the moment.
I think the Cherry Sheasel and O'Sullivan mix going through the middle there is a formidable one for the Roos.
I think we might see Finn O'Sullivan be the best player in his draft class. I think that's the direction that's heading. He's
been okay, hasn't he, old Finn? He's been very, very good this year. And you want to see these players come in who have been given this, the plaudits of being a high draft pick and coming in and smashing it straight away. So it's good to see that he has done that. I mean, Shees did the same thing. So the Kangas have got a couple of right ones there for sure.
McKercher as well.
And McKercher as well, absolutely. McKercher's been stellar. All right, Jesse. We'll wrap it up there. We've gone a little bit long, but that's okay, dear listener. It's been an impassioned one this evening. I feel a little bit different to the rest that we usually have, but that's fine. That's fine. Jesse, in your loveliest, calmest, and most brilliant voice, send the lovely people home.
No. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the 7 Minute Perfect AFL podcast. Like, share, subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on one of our preferred podcasting platforms, leave a 5-star review and a comment if you're on Spotify or back over on YouTube with your thoughts on the round that was. But the best review you can give us is word of mouth. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell the ARC, call them up, do a score review, say, hey guys, can we just confirm the 7 Minute Perfect AFL podcast is on your screens? And if it's not, tell them to put it on. Until next week, enjoy your footy weekend. We'll see you next time on the 7 Minute Perfect AFL podcast.
Bye, everybody.